started the recording, so yep, I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about. Okay, mechanics already looking really solid. Alright, so something we might talk about is McCree's range, and that we'll probably talk about that after this game's done. But just keep in mind for now that McCree is a mid-range character, and right now we're a little bit too far away to actually be getting as much value as we could. So positioning ourselves either with just our team below us, or just on like the top left, for example, are two different options that we could have to get a little bit closer. Okay, really good shots. Very nice. All right.
So, I mean, I guess you can explain
Yeah,
my thought process as I go.
You don't necessarily need to. For the most part, like if I'm noticing something wrong, I'll kind of get your thought process if you're doing good things, right? All right. Yep. Right now, keep in mind the fact that we have had High Noon for like 2 fights now.
Dude, see, that's an issue I have.
Yep. Just making
really
sure that we're
bad ult
using it,
usage.
because ults that aren't used don't get value, right? When we don't use it,
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
does literally nothing. So we just want to make sure we're using it as often as possible, and we can maybe talk about how we can look to use it if that's becoming an issue. But for the moment, it's just making sure we are using it. All right. Yep. We'll talk about positioning as well after we're done here. See, I'm just kind of accumulating things to discuss at the moment.
Experience tranquility. It's high noon. Draw.
Alright, your High Noon, after that's fully charged up and you see the red skulls, it's not going to do any more damage after that point. So you just holding on to it there. Good.
I thought that was false.
Nope, it's actually not going to do any more damage after there's already a red skull. The red skull is the max damage you can do, which is the damage of...
Well, I mean, like, as far as breaking shields and stuff.
Yeah,
it goes
no, it
from
does.
right to left, right?
Yeah, but it's not going... Yeah, but the damage numbers aren't going to change.
Okay.
Right, so as soon as they're both red skulls, like holding on to it's not going to make a difference. What you're probably getting at is like the longer you hold it, the more damage it does. But once they're red, that's it. All right, so we're gonna talk about a bunch of different things here. I'm going to be streaming over on Discord if you want to take a look.
Okay.
All right. So going into the practice range here. So big major first thing is we're going to talk about our range and our kind of play style here. So overall, we're playing very passive, right? So first off, we'll talk about the range and how that looks. So first off, McCree is a mid-range character. That means that he roughly wants to be playing within somewhere like this, like 15 meters away from somebody else, right? 15 meters to roughly around this range, right? This is where he likes to play. Now, why that is, right? First off, we don't want to be playing too close, which that's not a thing I've seen us doing, but we don't want to play too close because there's just other characters that do that better than he does, who have a better close range than he does because they're brawl characters. Think like Reaper, Mei, Ryan, Zarya, right? All these characters that just have better close ranges. So he's not gonna want to sit right here on somebody a lot of the times just because there's better characters that do that. But he also doesn't want to play too far away, which is this is the big one that you struggle with. The further away you get from something, you're actually going to notice the less and less damage you do. So here we'll use body shots just as an example here. At 20 meters, it takes you 1, 2, 3 shots to kill. We move up to 22 meters here, and now it's taking us 1, 2, 3, 4 shots to kill, right? So you actually will notice that you're actually doing less damage the further away you get from somebody, and that's called fall off damage. So the further and further back we go, now if we're back here, now we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots to kill, and then it caps out at 6 shots to kill for the body shot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which of course is going to be very not good because you don't want to take an entire 6 shots to kill a squishy target when you could do that in half the shots, right? It's literally double the damage. On top of that, your shots are just going to be a lot more difficult to hit. Of course, it's easier to hit a shot on somebody who's a bigger target. This is a very small target versus something like this when somebody's right next to you, it's a much bigger target, right? Almost like 2 times, 3 times the size of that target. So that means you're going to have a lot more accuracy, which means you're going to be hitting more shots and more headshots, right? So which again means more damage, which means more kills, right? Now, some characters can do this, right? Of course, like McCree is able to do this range, but that's only if he's forced to. You don't prefer this range, right? Now, there are some characters, but they have scopes. Like think Widowmaker, she can do this range because she has a scope and she has a lower sensitivity. But McCree doesn't have either of those, which just makes these shots very difficult to hit when the target's moving around. It's a super small target, and you also have fall off damage. So most of that game you're playing at a long range, not at a medium range, and that really affected our ability to damage things and do anything. Right? Now, other issues with our playstyle, playing too passive. So when you play too passive, keep in mind it means that you're able to do less. So you could be the most survivable person in the game, right, and have 0 deaths, but sit and spawn and be accomplishing nothing. Right? So you want to be thinking of this kind of like a spectrum. Now, it's not like how the spectrum kind of works is like on one side you have survivability, and on one side you have productivity, right? You want to, or at least, I guess let me rephrase this. You have passiveness and aggression, right? If you're, I guess that's a better one. I should start using that more. You have passiveness, and you have aggression, right? When you are on one side of the spectrum, you're at 0, right? And you're way too passive, it means that you sit and spawn and you do nothing, you accomplish nothing. When you're way too aggressive and you're at 100% on aggressiveness, then that means that you're actually dying so often because you're being in poor positions that you're actually never able to get stuff accomplished again because you're just in spawn the entire time.
Feeding.
Yep, exactly, right? So your goal is to try to find a balance where you're kind of more so in the middle of that, right, where you're kind of like at a 50 on the scale, right, from 0 to 100, where you're playing passive enough to not die, while also aggressive enough to do things, whereas right now I'd probably say that you were probably like a 15 on that scale, or like you're way too passive, right? We weren't ever in a position to do things. So passiveness is another thing to work on. Now, moving on, ultimate usage. Just make sure we're flat out using it was the big one, right? But then on from there, just like, ways that we can use it. I think I'm trying to think of how we can word this. Actually, I'll see some more gameplay on our ults before I start going into it. But for now, let's go over one more thing, and then I think we can go ahead and hop back into the game, is positioning. So when we are standing right here, right, it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now, from here, of course, you can't shoot through solid objects, so we're safe. But in that time it took us to walk here, we died, right? Whereas when we're right here, it takes us half of a second to duck behind cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that this is much safer positioning, and therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, the further away we stray from something like that, right? There are a couple times where we died. I think 2 times where we died because we were out in the open. Right, so we just want to make sure that we're trying to stay as close to cover as possible, not being out in the open because of course we just talked about how deaths are pretty bad, and of course you understand deaths are bad. So we want to look to cut out like the reasons why we're dying and fix our deaths, right? And there's a bunch of different types of cover. Like you can use slopes like this. You can use pillars in between shots when you're reloading, when you're low HP or you're getting ulted at or shot at, or you have corners that do the exact same thing. Random objects that are sitting around, right? You have pillar, corner, doorway, corner, right? And then you have high grounds, all of which act as natural cover. So this entire thing acts as natural cover. When we're up here, like they can see us, now they can't see us. You can see us, now they can't see us, right? On top of it all acting as natural cover, also 2/3 of the characters can't get up to you, which means that that's additional survivability. And then the ones that can, most of them need to use abilities, which means again, now they're just out of abilities and you run away from them. Then thirdly, right, on a high ground you have a ton of visibility. We can see people over here, we can see people over there, over here, over there, right, and over on this side. But when we're on a low ground, we can't see over there, not over there, not over there, not over there, and none of the high grounds, right? So you lose a lot of visibility when you're not on high grounds. So that's just a bunch of different things to think about. Probably like to see you, like we were very like hesitant to like take the TP to the high ground in that one fight. Like we just were kind of like sitting there thinking about it, and
Well, yeah. So I heard their hog up there, and he sounded like he was bullying teammates. So yeah, I was like questioning if they had gotten him or not. I didn't see it in the kill feed, so I decided to go back and go up there.
Yep. And then that was another thing. I was just making sure we're watching kill feed. I don't think it was too big of an issue to talk about at the moment, but just making sure that when we're like up people, right, we got picks that we're playing aggro and pushing forwards, because there's sometimes like we would have picks, but then we just kind of sit there, right, and kind of play the same passive play style, right, where we're just kind of sitting in the back, not really doing anything. When instead we want to be getting more aggressive when we know that we're up people, right. Now that's it. You look to go ahead and hop into a queue now. And then probably this game I'll go over strengths and weaknesses of what we're looking to work with so far. Actually, sorry, one more thing that I forgot to mention. So why don't we go over this real quick? Are you familiar with the term crosshair placement?
Yep.
Yep. So why don't I just reiterate it for you real quick, just because this is something that is looking like it still needs a little bit of work. For the most part, general mechanics are looking fantastic, though I'm noticing a little too many body shots. So just crosshair placement, right? Big first major step to this is making sure that we are aiming at head level, right? When we're walking around and we're aiming at body level or even at like neck level, right, before we hit a headshot, this means that 2 hit headshots, which are much better, right? 1-2 shots versus 1-2-3 shots, right? It means that it takes more adjustment, and whenever we have to adjust more, it is a more difficult shot to hit, right? When we're trying to do something like this is a much more difficult shot to hit than it is to do something like this, where we're just kind of going to the side a little bit, right? So the less we have to adjust, the easier the shot is to hit, which means headshots are easier. On top of that, that just changes all of our natural body shots. Let's just say we're spamming around the corner, spamming to a shield, just shooting at people normally, right? We're just going about our day, shooting at people. When we're aiming at body level, we just hit body shots. But when we're aiming at head level, right now we're aiming up here. Now all of our shots are just naturally headshots because we're walking around aiming here, right? So just want to make sure we're aiming there. Second step to crosshair placement is just making sure we're aiming where we know people are going to be. We know he's top left, so we're pre-aiming at head level top left. So when he comes out, it's very little adjustment. We know he's top left again, so we're pre-aiming left side, aiming head level already. So when we turn the corner, we're already aiming at his head. Okay. Now these guys are on a little bit of a slope, so the same way on a Torb we'd look down, and on a tank we'd look a little bit higher. Here we're going to look a little bit down on these guys because they're lower, right? So when we come out here, we're already angled up to those heads, right? So we're already peeking those heads, so we can already hit headshots, right? So that's just crosshair placement. For the most part, though, mechanics looking really, really fine, just generally. Right, so yeah, you can look to go ahead and get in a queue. And to be honest, probably I forgot that you're running DPS. You probably could have been in a queue a little bit ago.
Yeah, it actually put me in a game. I had to leave it. Forgot to leave the queue.
Yeah, you're fine.
In between games, sometimes I'll
Hmm?
do something around here, or I've got a
All
few
right.
presets.
We'll have probably a lot of time in between games if we're doing like a full 2-hour session, right? And
Yeah.
DPS queues especially. Do you maybe want to like go over a replay in between games?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Just because I don't want to, end up wasting like a fourth of the
Oh
session off of
no,
that.
yeah, no, that's a great idea.
All
You
right.
want to do the one we just did,
Um. Hmm,
or we can
probably
do.
probably not. We can go over a different one, just because
Okay.
that'd be a lot of the same stuff. But I guess if you want, I could show you. But you'll probably be the same stuff that's cropping up in the other one too. So give me like either or. I can walk do Dorado. Dorado looks like it's a little bit longer, so maybe give me the Dorado game.
Okay.
So you click share on the very bottom.
Yeah, yeah, there it is. Do you want me to send it
I
or?
can just copy it off your screen.
Okay. Alright.
All right. Was I? Yeah, I'm still streaming. All right. Just let me know when you get in a game, and I'll swap over to your screen. Oh,
Okay.
screen. So what was our in-game name again?
Broski.
Okay, looks like you're not
So
picked yet.
this match I joined in late. Put me in late. It
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
until they were almost inside the building, or
Mm.
they're coming around the corner.
All right. So here we
Yeah.
are. For some reason, they removed. You can't click on the different teams anymore. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's just a bug. All right. Let's see. Are we? I'm trying to skip back to when we joined. Okay, so we joined around here. Just fast forwards. Okay, now we joined.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
All right, so coming out here, first thing I probably say is just come out taking the high ground. Now they have
Yeah.
on their team they have a Genji Diva Tracer, so we just keeping in mind that they can get up to us very easily. So we might need to be like drop from high ground if we need to, but
Yeah,
high ground's gonna give us.
you'll witness that in a bit.
Yep. So we just want to make sure we're taking the high ground initially,
My
though, like as we're just walking out of spawn.
my cue popped.
Okay, sounds good. Let me just leave this then and go spectate you.
Welcome to Paris.
Yeah. So right now I want to see. Really, the only two I've really seen content out of the two categories is mechanics and positioning. I haven't really seen you use abilities because we were never like within range to flashbang at all, and so I saw you use it like once or twice, and then ultimate I saw you use one of them, so I want to see more of them, and then on from there like awareness is usually kind of a slow boil one to like you kind of gotta watch it for a while before it becomes apparent if you struggle, like kind of where you struggle with it or how much you do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but positioning's definitely looking like a bigger one at the moment, and then mechanics looking pretty solid.
Stay close to me and I will protect you.
See that which is unseen.
Yep. Especially when your tanks are there, don't be afraid to peek and shoot, right? And when shield's down there, we just kind of played a little bit passive, right? When we should have been shooting and doing things, right?
I'm restoring you.
Yeah, but Reinhardt's that low, you can probably like roll across the choke and flashbang him, right? And like just get right up in his face. Well, now he has healing, of course, right? So that's a little bit different of a scenario.
Oh man.
I'm going whole hog.
Rest in peace.
Right,
Yeah, that
roll down
that
to the
was
open there, right? Watch your deaths and think about why you died, because that's gonna be a
no
really good
teammates.
way to fix them, right? On top of that, it looks like kind of the same stuff as last time. We're doing a very slow passive approach. Instead, look to get in faster to the side, right? We kind of got to the side and then sat there for a little while. So just make sure we're trying to go for it faster and do more things, because a lot of these fights, a large portion of them, we just sit around not really doing very much. And you can do a lot of things while still staying alive as long as you're approaching it properly.
No payment required. This one's on the house.
Oh. So when you're continuously repeating the same angle, that can become very easy to predict, so just be careful of
Yeah,
that.
super
And
predictable.
yep, exactly. Make sure we're like, when we're sitting at these chokes, the only way we're going to be able to peek is if we're kind of using our tanks. So just basically sit behind them and let them body block for you. Use their shields. Make sure we're peeking extra aggressively when we do have shields available, because sometimes we have shields yet we're not really using them. Make sure when you're low that you're requesting healing. That's going to let your supports know where you are in the game, what character you are, and it's going to get you healing faster than if we're not pressing it. So it's a really good habit to get into. On top of that, just notice again that we haven't used High Noon. I think maybe we're not understanding situations to use it, but the big one.
I just don't. Yeah, I just don't want to waste it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, keep in mind you're not looking for 6-man High Noons. You're
No, yeah,
almost
no,
never looking for them, right? You
I
you
understand
try
that.
to get like 2 people max, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes even 1 person. So we just don't think of it as wasting it, because even if you use it, I'd rather you use it once a fight and sometimes mess it up, because then you can actually start improving it. You can't improve at something that you're not using, right? If you never use it, you're never going to get better at using it, and therefore you're not going to not be able to waste it. So use it more often, even if you feel like you are wasting it, and then that's going to help you to get better at using it. Flashbang when something's right next to you, right? Just make sure we're using that ability. Just pretty powerful ability. Oh, but watch when she has her gold up, right? That's when you can't flash. Alright, so strengths to weaknesses so far. Mechanics, superb. Just some two good.
Do you mind explaining the mechanics part that you're talking about, so I know what I
So
don't need to fix?
what? Yeah. So like, what are you doing good at? What you're doing bad at?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so generally, like just you going pew pew shooting at stuff, that's fantastic. You just hitting your overall shots, great. Now, areas in the mechanics category that you do need to work on is hitting more headshots, so making sure we're aiming at head level and keeping good crosshair placement. And then the other areas where I would say is a very important thing is actions per minute. Actions per minute is essentially just making sure that we're constantly doing something, right? If you compare a bronze player to a grandmaster player is going to be doing this and doing that. They're going to be constantly doing something. They're being efficient with every single second of their time. But you compare that to a bronze player, and a bronze player is going to go pew pew shoot shoot, and then they're going to go, oh, look at this scenery. The scenery looks fantastic, and they wander around for a little bit, and then they come back and they're like, okay, I'm going to concentrate, right? Pew pew shoot
Yeah.
shoot, and then they're back to doing nothing. They just kind of sit back and do nothing for a little bit, right? So
Right.
actions per minute is making sure that we're constantly doing something, and that's another thing in like kind of the mechanics category of just make sure we're constantly doing things, right? Because there's a lot of
Mhm.
times where we'll just sit around and not really do much, right? That's one of the bigger ones. Now that's the mechanics category for the moment. So when it comes to that, so strengths and weaknesses, right? If we're talking about mechanics category as a whole, I'd probably say it's in the medium priority, right? We'll have like low to high here, right? It's in a medium priority because half of it's really good, half of it's really bad, right? Positioning, probably say that more of it is worse. I'd probably say it's like a medium to high for the moment. I'm not going to put it at a high yet because honestly the last game wasn't as bad as the first one, but it still had a lot of passiveness. Then on from there, honestly, awareness I haven't seen too many issues with, though I would maybe, like, if I need to, I'd maybe add in aggression as a category. Usually I don't have that as a category, but just making sure that we're being more aggressive. But then the other two categories would be ultimate usage and ability usage. Abilities, I want to see you use them more often, and same with ultimates. Is that it seems like we're kind of playing this game as like a tactical shooter when this is Overwatch, an ability based game, right? Overwatch is, but at its core, based around ultimates and abilities, and we want to make sure we're using them because we're going to find a lot of value out of them. Because so far we're not really. I've very rarely seen us use flashbang. I maybe saw you use it like twice in that game. Maybe 3 times max. And then the one time you did use it, you used it on a Orisa who is gold, right? Then besides that, roll again. I'm not seeing us use it too much. So for a roll, for a flashbang, right? To start off, make sure you're using it just anytime someone's within range of using it. Don't hold on to it. There's nothing in particular you need to hold on to it for, unless you're maybe up against a dive or something like that. Just use it whenever you see the opportunity to secure a kill. Now, roll. You have 3 different ways that you can use that thing, right? You can use it for mobility. So it's a 6-second cooldown. Don't be afraid to use that. I'm going to go into training range here so I'll talk about this stuff, right? It's a 6-second cooldown. You get it very frequently, so don't be afraid to use it, right? Use it while you're walking back from spawn. Use it when you're trying to go on a flank faster, right? Use it, and then other 2 usages. You can use it to dodge stuff. You can use it as well to reload all your bullets when you're at 0, right? To just get a fast reload going. So if we're still if we're out of ammo and we're still trying to shoot at stuff, we can roll to just get that back instantly, right? So just make sure that we are using it, because I haven't noticed us using it too much, as well as our flashbang. I'd probably say flashbang's a little bit worse, but that's, again, we're not using very much. High noon, used it 1 time in both of our games, right? When we probably, like, in that time that you use the 1, right, we could maybe get like 2 or 3 ults, right? And be using 2 or 3 ults, which is 2 to 3 times the value, right? Just keep in mind, you're not, like I said before, you're not always trying to get a super big fat one, and you just want to look to get a couple picks with it, right? Which means, of course, you can go for the bigger ones if you find them, but you're not going to actively hold on to them, because it's honestly more wasteful if you don't use it ever than if you mess up one, right? And if you mess up, then you have something to fix. You can improve on it. But if, like I said before, if you're never using it at all, there's nothing even to fix, right? There's nothing to get better at. It's just use it, right? Use the abilities, use your ultimate. That's the big ones there. So, priority-wise, I probably put, they are also just, like, in comparison to, like, other parts of your kit, they're McCree's abilities in ultimate is not as powerful as other characters in this game, so I'd probably put those, like, maybe even at a slightly lower priority than your mechanics, though I still they are still very important, especially because we're not using either of them, and that adds up, right, when we're not doing both of them. So I probably put both of those at like a medium priority ish for now, right? And then awareness, honestly, go at a low from what I've seen so far, but maybe we'll see more as we progress here. And then if aggression, like I said, I don't usually have aggression as a category, but aggression definitely is a high. Aggression is probably like the biggest thing I'm looking at right now. Is we just want to make sure we're doing more things and being more active and being a more aggressive, and not just sitting around doing nothing. And that's probably one of the bigger things that we're looking at, right? Now, besides that, was there anything techie that I want to go over? Maybe just high noon usage, right? I talked about, like, when you can use roll, but high noon, again, has 3 ways that you can use it, or three main ways that you can get it off, right? You have making sure you have protection, right? So you can use a high noon if you are on the front line and you have a shield or a bubble or anything that can block damage from hitting you. You can use it if you're too far away. If, like, we're all the way over here and they're all the way over there and they don't have any characters that can like snipe us from there, right? Then we can just high noon and they can't even really kill us because they can't damage us very well, right? You can also high noon if you have some surprise advantage. So let's say their team's there, our team's here. We can, come around here up to the high ground and Now we've gotten a different angle that they're not expecting. It takes them a couple seconds to look up at us, and in that time it takes them to look at us, we've already gotten the high noon off, right? So going for surprise advantage probably is going to be one of the best ones out of those three that you could go for, because it's going to be very easy to do and very effective, and you're not always going to have protection, and you're not always going to be able to be that far away, but very often are you going to have an off angle that you can take to get off a high noon, right? So those are the things that we're looking for. Off angle is a very active thing, right? It's not going to, the ultimate's not going to jump in your face. You're actively going out and seeking the ultimate, right? You're going on the angle to go and find the ult. It's not going to just pop in front of you. So why don't we talk about off angling real quick, because that's something I'm noticing is a lot of the times we're just sitting with our team. So how off angles work. So basically, this is the main angle. So if the enemy team's there and our team's here, this is the main angle where both teams are shooting at each other. Now, I don't think that this is your problem. I just think the positioning part is your problem. But this sets it up. Priority targets, right? What should we be shooting at? We should not be shooting at tanks, because tanks are the things that get that have 2 to 3 times the health. They have tanking abilities. They have shields. They have they're the easiest to heal, and on top of that, they also aren't the ones that output statistical value, right? So DPS and supports are the things you want to kill. Now, to get to DPS and supports, we can't do that very effectively by shooting at tanks and shields the entire time. But what we can do is we take what you call an off angle. So we come into something like this, and now we've gotten past the tanks, gone past the shields, and it was very safe because we can just walk back to our team very fast, and it's also very fast because it only took us like 2 seconds, right? So this is an off angle, right? Now, you also have something like this, where like enemy team's there, our team's here. We just roll up the high ground, right? Roll so we go faster, and then we can come up top, right? Past the tanks, past the shields. We can high noon, we can shoot at them normally, right? Flash, shoot, right? Go pew pew. And then what that does is it gets us around the tanks, gets around the shields, and this also acts as a crossfire effect. So they essentially what a crossfire effect is they're shooting at our team, and then now we're shooting at them from the top, and they're going, huh, who do we shoot at? McCree or the team? And then they're not going to be communicating this, so ultimately this just ends up confusing them. They're not going to be dedicating like the right amount of people to each, right? They might put like 3 people on you, 3 people on your team, and then now, boom, both of you have less pressure than if they just had 6 people looking at main, right? Or if they had 6 people looking at you on your off angles. So that's also another benefit of taking the high ground, as well as all of the other benefits that we talked about of high ground already, right? That's off angling, right? And that allows you to get off high noons as well, and we want to make sure we're actively looking to take it, whereas a lot of the time, you're just sitting main, right? We're just kind of sitting main, and sitting main is not, sometimes that's what you have to do, right? So for example, like trying to, when you're at that choke on what should I call it? Paris, right? When you're on that choke in Paris, there's not really any off angles that you can take, right? Off angles are only going to be an option like 50% of the time, right? But when you get past the choke, there's definitely are off angles, and we just want to take them faster. And on a Rialto, there's definitely off angles. There's definitely high grounds you could take. There's definitely like different angles that you can try to go for. So we just want to make sure we're taking it and keeping in mind that it doesn't always have to be a room or high ground. We can also just doing something like this is taking an off angle because we're getting around the shields. Right now this might be on the open, but we can do something like this, right? Where now we're getting at them from the side without you don't necessarily need a room to take. Right now, to clarify here real quick. Off angle versus you can go ahead and get in a queue because this is the wrap up here. Flanking, right? What's the difference between the two? Well, flanking is essentially if we did something like this, where enemy team there, our team here, and we went all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, right? So now that we took twice the amount of time, and in the meantime, our team's losing the fight, and it also is much more dangerous than if we were sitting up there or in there, right? Now, to kind of clarify here, so sometimes you can flank, but the big thing is you don't want to flank in the middle of fights. You want to flank in between fights because that way you're not putting your team at a disadvantage. And then also, the only time you'd really ever be doing this on McCree is if you're looking for a high noon. I would say as long as you're doing the high noon in between, and you're looking for the flank in between fights, and it's not insanely dangerous, and you have a high noon, that's okay on McCree. But any other time, you're probably not going to want to do it, and you want to make sure it's also not in the middle of a fight, right? Because then you're just wasting a bunch of time. So flanks are dangerous on a lot of characters. You're not going to want to do it. Like most characters in the game, there's only a couple of characters that can really go for flanks effectively. But McCree is one of the ones where you can situationally, right?
Yeah.
Now that all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously it's a lot to take in at once, but
Yep.
uh,
It very much is. So one of the things with the application process is like, I guess I'll talk about that real quick. Is just how to apply these things, and just again, let me know when you get into a game here. I'm actually gonna.
yeah, I'm in a game.
Okay,
We're just,
actually, then we'll talk.
sitting in the lobby.
All right, we'll talk about. Then I guess just I'll do a quick summary. It's just make sure that while you're playing, you're really focusing in on the things that you're trying to improve on, right? You're not autopiloting, you're not just focusing on winning, but you're trying to think about the things you're trying to work on. And when you're trying to work on a thing, don't try to do everything all at once, because that's going to get overwhelming. You're not going to know what to improve on. By the way, you have to crouch.
No, you don't.
Oh, what? Oh, well, guess not.
I was making it that entire time. I don't know if you were watching.
Yeah, but I joined in and you missed the one. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, my team was fucking with me.
Yeah, so in any case, just make sure that you're not trying to focus on everything at once. Focus on one category of things, or like 1 to 3 smaller things.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. So there, the problem was that we right-clicked when we had 2 ammo. First off, when something's already there's a time to right-click and there's a time not to right-click. When something's already 1 HP, that is the time to left-click. The other thing is you probably could have rolled at any point before you right-clicked, and it would have been better. So you could have flashed and then rolled and then right-clicked, or you could have rolled and then flashed and then right-clicked, and then it would have been fine because then you would have had a full 6 ammo. But the problem was that you just only had 2 shots, right? So we just want to pay attention to our ammo, make sure we weren't doing that. Oh. Just walk up there and use your flashbang to just make it easier, right? Just make sure we're using the ability. Alright, now that we've gone a bunch into the gameplay, okay, so here we're a little bit close, right? Now we want to like let them come to us, so here we probably be positioned back on point, to be honest, right? So this is a little bit different, right? Because they have to come to us, right? Very good shots. I'm gonna start talking a little bit more while you're playing here now that we've gone over a lot of the main stuff. Flashbang, very nice. I think we'll talk about when to left click versus right click in a flash. Alright, so now we have high noon in this fight, right? We're gonna look for it. Main thing we're watching out for is D.Va and Widowmaker, right? Widowmaker can one-shot us and D.Va can eat it, so we just want to be careful of them. Try to wait out the D.Va defense matrix, or catch her off guard, or wait till she's out of mech. And then Widowmaker, we just want to make sure that we have a shield, or it's a surprise, or we can't really do the too far away one, because then she just snipes us, right?
It's high noon.
Right. So the problem with that one was it was just a little bit too early in the fight. We'll talk about. I guess we'll talk about that that one after the round's done here. That one you can chase, right? You can chase it. Like, your entire team's up here, so you can just get super aggro and run in on top of them, right? And then you can just back up. In between fights, you just rotate back to the best positioning possible. Make sure you're using your roll to kind of when you're walking that long distance, right? You can use your roll to travel it faster, right? Watch the
Yeah.
Did that again, right? Watch the golden. Good.
So Orisa, when he presses E or whatever, I don't know if it's E or left. Yeah, it's left shift for him. You can't stun that.
Yep.
So I just learned that.
Exactly, right? You can't stun it, so we just want to make sure we're not trying to flashbang it. All right, so make sure that we're not ulting too early in fights, right? So in fights, you have what you call the poke phase. The poke phase is when you're just kind of going pew pew, you're just shooting at each other. You're not really close enough to be doing anything. Most of the time that the fight starts when like either ults are being used or picks are going or the teams are like right on top of each other, but there was just too early, and that means that they have
Yeah.
more attention to give you, right? They have more people who can look over at you and stop you. It also means that they're not very distracted and they're not going to be really out in the open much, right? So we just maybe want to use it more towards right as the fight's starting, not before the fight started, right? Good decision to back off there when you're being contested. You have your Mercy with you now. Okay, I think we're going to talk about how to know whether or not you've won or lost a fight after this is done.
They ain't finished yet. Pardon me.
Just mainly for aggression purposes.
Hold up now.
Flash bang, right? Make sure we're using that ability. Alright, so they're in that situation. Probably was a bad idea to go for the Tracer when we could have just like peeked the edge and flashed something and shot him in the head, right?
She wouldn't have even known I was there.
Exactly, right? It's just an easier kill to go for. Also, make sure we're not shooting at, like, the tanks aren't the first thing we're looking at when we're turning the corner, right? We're not just shooting at the tanks first thing when we have a ton of other options, right? You know, tanks, it's not that we never shoot at tanks, but we shoot at tanks when they're low. We shoot them when they're out of position. We shoot at them when they're the only thing to shoot at. Sorry, I'll talk more after this game's done.
Much better. Hold up now.
All right. So
Yeah, I kind of got stuck back there. Pretty
basically,
easily
at the moment, what
came
it's
out.
looking like is you're taking your aggression, right? And you hear me saying you're playing too passive, right? You're at 20% or 15%, and what you're doing is you're going, okay, well, I'll play aggressive then, and you're taking it and dialing it up to an 80, right? You want to be more so in the balance, right? And of course, this is going to be something you practice at. Of course, it's probably not going to come
Yeah.
on your first game, but just know in that game you're way too aggressive, right? You took it in the complete opposite direction, right? We were just playing way too far in. So you just want to try to get it more so in the middle where you're not playing too far back and you're not playing too far forwards, but you're playing right in the middle in the right spot, right? Now we'll talk about some stuff, but I don't think it's gonna be long enough, so you can probably just go ahead and hop into a queue again. But first one, just target priority, right? We talked about, tanks are what we want to shoot at, and for the most part, you're good on that. Just as a quick reminder, because there's one time when we peeked the corner, we shot at tanks. We shoot at tanks when they're low. We shoot at tanks when they're out of position. We shoot at tanks when they're the only thing to shoot at. But if we have the option, then we shoot at something else because they're just better targets to shoot at. They're easier to kill, right? Actually, never mind. Leave the queue real quick because I forgot we're gonna go over the left click versus right click as well. So I have two things. So you can hop into the queue after I talk about one of them. That way you don't accidentally get into a game. So we'll go over left click versus right click, and then we'll go over how to know whether you've won or lost a fight. So left click versus right click, right? For the most part, I think you've got it down. It's like right click's only ever really used when you're flashing something, right? But it's only ever used like half of the time when you're flashing something. There's most of the time you're gonna be still left clicking. So couple different reasons why you would right click in a flashbang. Most of the time you're going to left click, right? You right click when you cannot hit a headshot. So on a big old tank dude where you can't, from the side we can't really hit his head too well, right? And from the back we can't really hit his head too well, right? So on a big tank dude like this, if we flash them from the side or the back, we would right click them. But if you take a look at like most other characters, right? Like we look at Tracer, from all angles we can shoot and see her head. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be going for the headshot, because a flash headshot one taps the tracer, right? Same thing with a baby diva. They have the same exact health. So in fact, you can also headshot melee a tracer, right, and a baby diva. So we just want to be going for the headshot on a tracer, especially, right, but then also on other characters, like, you know, any other squishy target. Like, you're gonna be able to, like, you know, see their head and headshot them from like any angle, right? Other times they're going to go for a right click, right, is when it's a surprise flash. So, like, for example, let's say you're sneaking up here and then someone sneaks up behind you, right? We're going to have to do a quick flash around them. We might not be ready for left click, so we'd go for the right click instead. Or let's say we're just unprepared for a flashbang, then we're right clicking. But if we're fully prepared for it, let's say, like, we know he's on our top left, we're hunting, right? We're going hunting, and we know he's on our top left, so we're ready for it. We can pre-aim and get ready with the left click, so when we flash him, right, we're already aiming there, and the headshots just become easier. And you, most of the time, whenever it's an option, you want to go for the left click, because it means that you're not wasting nearly as much time and basically doing the same amount of damage. So, for example, here, right, we can right click, and you're going to need 2 right clicks to do that, to finish him off, right? But if we just normal shoot him, we can do this in 1 clip, right? Which means that you have a lot less time that you're wasting, while also staying more kind of mobile, while also at the same time, you know, not having to be stuck in those animations of right-clicking. And it means that if we, for example, on a squishier target, like if we kill this guy with a flashbang, we still have ammo to shoot at this guy, right? Whereas if we right-clicked on this guy, where we flash right-click, now we can't shoot at this guy until we reload, and then that time we end up dying, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot more efficient if we're left-clicking, and we're only going to really be right-clicking if we don't have access to their head, like a ball, like, for example, a ball, right? When you can't headshot a ball, and when he's in ball form, you're just going to go for right-clicks because you can't do anything else, right? Whereas on anything else, we're going to want to go for the headshots, right? Especially when it's premeditated, when we know that we're going for the flashbang, right? Just pre-aim at the head level, make sure we're looking there, so we're not going for the right-clicks, right? Now, moving on to the how to know whether or not you won or lost the fight, and you can look to get into a queue now, so you can get a faster game here. And you know, we've gone over a lot, probably most of the stuff that we're gonna go over, like in the training range. So if you wanted to get into comp now, that's also an option. It's up to you. Now on to how to know whether or not you've won or lost the fight, right? Most of this comes down to making sure that you're watching kill feed, right? Kill feed's the top right corner of your screen. This is a category in awareness, and when you're looking at the top right corner of your screen and you watch kill feed, you want to look at how many people are alive, how many people are dead. When your team is up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage. When you have an advantage, you play more aggressively, right? So this is going to affect your aggression. This is the big one that I want to talk to you about, right? Is the aggression part of this. When you're up people, you play more aggressive. Now that doesn't mean that you're going from like if you're starting at a 50%, doesn't mean you're going to a 90 or an 80, but you're going to tone it up a little bit. You're going to go from 50 to maybe a 55, 60, right? Now, when you're up 2 to 3 people, that is a 1 fight. At that point, you no longer want to use ults, and you want to play super, super aggressive so you can go and get stagger kills. So at this point, when you're up 2 to 3, this is where you can start playing like probably like a 70 to 80, and then if it's like 1 or 2 people left, then you can play like at a 90 or 100% aggression, right? You can just go all in, right? Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When you are down 1 to 2, that is a disadvantage. When you have a disadvantage, you're going to go from 50% aggression to maybe like 40 or maybe like 35, right? It's not, you know, you didn't lose the fight yet, so you're not all like done, right? But you are losing the fight, right? So you might want to play more passive. Now, when you're down 2 to 3, that is a lost fight, right? That's where you want to look to either get out if possible, or you would look to let them kill you so that you're not, you know, just staggering yourself, right? And also no ults in a lost fight, because of course that'd just be wasting the ultimate, right? Now that means that we'd be going from 50% to 35 or 40, and then we'd be going from 35 or 40 down to 0, right? Or 10 or something like that, right? We're going down a little, like a ton, right? By the way, you muted yourself. I just want to make sure you're still there, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. All right. Just making sure. So, yep, that's just aggression. Make sure we're paying attention to our environment so we know when to get aggressive, when to play passive, because there are times where you do tone it up and there are times where you do tone it down. But for the most part, you're going to try to sit on, as a neutral, you're going to sit around the 50 mark, right? You're going to sit kind of a neutral aggression, right? So that's it for that, and then we can just wait until you get into a game then. And then now that you're queued up for comp, I'm actually going to need to watch your stream now, since I cannot actually spectate competitive. Oh yeah, I forgot we have the replay to go over. So actually, why don't I get that up? Just let me know when you get in a game, and then we can go over the replay that you gave me. That was a Dorado game, right?
Yeah, it was.
Ready for battle.
All right, we have to skip like halfway through here.
Back into the.
All right, we're like somewhere around here. Oh, flash him, right? That you flashing him saves your mazed life while also stunning him and allowing you to maybe kill him, right? So just make sure we're using the ability, right? Oh, well, not much we could do there after we missed the flash, right? But maybe if we had melee life, she could help us freeze him, and then maybe we have a chance, right? So that's just a pretty big mistake we want to watch out for. Nice kill.
Hold up now.
Now this is a little bit too aggressive, too far forwards. We want to make sure we have. I mean, unless our whole team's doing it, but might want to be a little bit further back. Okay, now we're backing up. That's good. When we see our whole team's pushing in, then we might want to push in aggro. Really nice shots. Okay, so here we're playing a little bit far back. Pay attention to how many teammates you have have forwards, right? Pay attention to May, Monkey, Baptiste, Lucio, right? They're not in the best positioning, but keep in mind this is a quote from Jane, who is a Overwatch League coach, as well as, or I mean, maybe X, I think now, but also like a streamer, very highly regarded, right? He's a coach, right? He says that when one person is doing something stupid, that's called throwing. When 6 people are doing something stupid, that's called a strategy, right? So if your entire team's doing it, I probably would say that on your own, if you were up here by yourself, that'd be terrible. If Monkey was doing this all on his own, that'd be terrible positioning, right? But if everyone's doing it, then go and join them, because by not joining them in that positioning, you are actually not following your team and are probably not going to be getting as much value, and you're outside of the fight. You're not helping participate. So here we're pretty far back when we could be a little bit closer, could be helping out in the fight, right? So we're not really participating as much as we could be, right? Because like most of the fight's happening up there away from us. Flash him when he's right next to you. Oh, nice. Oh, that's unfortunate.
I got a Q.
All right, sounds good. Oh, snap. I could have just stayed in the lobby. Well, let me just get back to the spot then. I forgot that I'm not spectating you anymore. 1 second. I'm going to just get back to where you were.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
Okay. Probably like the statue positioning better than being on the left side, right? Just because left side is a little bit too close. Statue is a nice medium range, right? It's not too far, but you have a ton of cover there. Flash the ball, right? Make sure we're using that ability when people are close to us. We just, seem to constantly forget about that thing, right? When it is really, really easy at securing kills. It's probably going to be one of the things that secures you a ton of kills. Very nice. Oh, good off angle. This is what you call an off angle, right? This is I like that we're trying to take that. Maybe get a high noon off, right? Nope. Yeah, so besides my encouragement, I apologize for that because that was a bad move on even when I said that.
You're
Just
fine.
make sure you're watching the people who are coming back from spawn because immediately after I said
Yeah.
that, I was thinking in my head, oh yeah, Zenyatta's walking back, right? So you just want that's awareness, right? Just making sure we're paying attention to the people who are walking back from spawn so that we aren't getting shot at from behind. Right here, we're down a bunch of our teammates. Like, look around you, pay attention, like, watch tab. We have 3 people with us, which means we don't want to be this close, right? Because now what's gonna happen is we're probably gonna end up staggering ourselves. And I don't know if I explained that term or if you know that term, but we can discuss that after the game's done, or at least in between rounds. All right, so there again, pay attention to where your team. Oh well, that's unfortunate. Again, pay attention to where your team was because there, our team is really, really far back. Yeah, we were, again, our aggression was up at like an 80, and we were pushing in like super, super far. We're also out in the open, right, and trying to run away, so just make sure we're not getting that aggressive when we can't really. Another thing is watch your spam jumping. Now this, out of everything I'm saying, this is a very, very low priority to be working on. But just spam jumping is going to allow it to basically for people to headshot you easier. So you just don't want to be in the habit of spam jumping. It's just going jump, 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 right? Now it's unfortunate that you're down a person because that's almost a guaranteed loss usually. You can also report that person as well. This is an option here. Yeah, like right now we're down like 4 people, right, for watching kill feed. Just we're down a bunch of people, which means that we probably want to be backing up, getting out. All right, but because it's a little bit of a delayed back out, then we just end up staggering further. So we'll talk about staggering after this is done here. All right, that's unfortunate. You probably just like they're not coming back. They typed a message in chat. So after the 30 seconds is up, you can probably just leave it. So, are you familiar with the term staggering at all?
Yeah, I know what you mean when you say it.
Yep. So basically, just as a quick summary, again, is staggering is essentially just dying late. When you die late, your team has 2 options. Either they wait for you, in which case you've just wasted a ton of time, or if they don't wait for you, then that means that now they're walking in without you and they're at a disadvantage. So we don't want to be the one who staggers, because that means that now we're just putting our team at a big disadvantage and we're wasting time. You can just leave. You're down 3 people now. Yeah, so we just want to make sure we're not staggering, so pay attention to kill feed and when the fight's won or lost, because we kept kind of pushing in without them. Make sure you're not going in like 1v6, right, because you can't win 1v6, so you can't really ever win anything above a 1v2.
Yep.
All right, so why don't I just get the... I'm still streaming, so I'm being just hop back in here.
I've got unfinished business.
Alright, so this is spam jumping. You see how we're going hop, 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 hop.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. I don't typically do that in fights.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to skip there. I meant to pause it.
Draw.
I don't think I
Notice,
got anything off of that.
yeah,
They
notice
already.
how nothing's behind, like nothing's out in the open, right? So when we're high
Yeah.
nooning,
No.
we talked about the criteria for how you can get away with it, but you also
Mhm.
want to make sure that they can't get away from it, right?
Mhm.
If they are all near cover, which here just notice they are all really really close to cover, right? There's the cart, there's the left room, there's the doorway. They all are able to run away from it very very easily. Whereas let's say they were like right out here a second ago, like let's say here, right before we dropped. So think about it right here. Like, what if we hiding like when they're right there? Where's Lucio gonna go? Where's Mora gonna go? Right? They're out in the open, right? So this is much different. This is a different scenario where now they're actually not gonna have anywhere to go for this next couple of seconds here. Like right here would have been perfect, right? Where none of them are, are able to get away from it. So you want to look for situations like that. Right? The other thing to keep in mind is just the fact that this is a lost fight. So you might want to just wait for the next fight to come up because at this point, they have so little people to shoot at that it's very likely that they just block it, or they're not gonna be distracted here, so they can run away from it easier, they can block it, they can shield it, they can defense matrix it, they can deflect it, they can fade away from it, they can blink out of it, they can recall it, they can speed boost away, and they have a ton of different options here, and we want to make sure we're doing it like in the middle of a fight or at the very beginning of a fight, not after a fight's lost. So again, paying attention to kill feed and knowing when we're winning or losing a fight, or even not just paying attention to kill feed, but like we can see here, we have 2 people alive, right? So hiding just doesn't do anything. I guess they're all behind cover. Besides Tracer, who just walked down the open, she like looked at you and then and then just walked out. Right? We can look at look at that from like F7 here. Right? She saw you and then just like walked at you. What was this? It's high noon. She walked into it. All right. Yeah. So the only reason why that got anything was because he walked into it. And then we were trying to run away when it's a lost fight. And then okay, now by this point,
Yeah. This is huge time waste.
exactly right. This is just kind of where you see the actions per minute thing, or just like we're not really doing too much back here. I keep pressing this thing in pause button. I need to be able to like. They need to like add in like keybinds for this, so I can like pause by pressing spacebar here.
I'm sure you could keybind it, but
No,
yeah,
I
I
don't think
agree.
it is. I mean, I don't think it is. But yeah, in any case, there, like, we just want to make sure we're listening, because Genji was walking behind us and shooting at us for quite a little while.
Hmm.
So we just want to make sure that we are, paying attention to him. So,
Yeah, there's keybinds.
yeah, but I don't see a pause. Is the thing. So decrease speed. Oh, I can decrease and increase speed by scrolling. Is that a no? No, I don't. Nope.
Maybe once you're playing.
Nope,
That's
that's not
weird.
doing anything. So I don't know what that's talking about. So there again, she's just walking behind us. So that's just audio awareness. Make sure we're paying attention and listening. I don't know. The stream was pretty quiet on my end. I don't know if that's like, do you play with a quiet volume or not? Because
So yeah, so my sound lighting settings are pretty weird. Like everything for me is super loud, but if I try to share stuff, it's
oh,
pretty
okay.
quiet for others.
I was just making sure you could actually hear things.
Yeah.
But then if it's loud enough, then that just means you want to pay attention and listen for it. Right, that
Yeah.
way we're reacting faster. Nice mechanics. No problem with our reload habits as well. No problems with this because we're just poking a little bit. Nice. That was the situation where just like you hit the first shot, so that it was like you saw him there. What we had some time. We know he's on the left. This is premeditated, right? So it's just a very easy headshot. It just means we don't have to right
Yeah.
click, right?
I don't think I'm comfortable enough with my headshots yet
Yeah.
to do that, but I mean, not
Wait.
doing it isn't gonna make it any better.
Exactly
So
right. So it's just gonna come with practice. And that's you got the point like right on, right? You're not gonna be able to get better at it if you're not actually trying to do like to practice it, right? Right here, where you see our teams fighting and poking, and
yeah,
we're
a
just
little
sitting there, right?
too far back.
Yep. Oh, and then never mind. We actually spotted. I was about to say like, why are we backing up? And then you spotted the tracer. Really good awareness there. I don't know why the Zarya grabbed her, but I mean, it's quick play, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my Q just popped.
All right, sounds good. Maybe look at like one more second of this.
Now, hold on.
Look at. Oh, I don't. Yeah, never mind. We'll just talk about it when we get back. Oh, I stinking left the game again. I forgot that I'm just staying in here.
Hello, hello. Think you're the first person I've heard on voice all day.
You know, some days I was kind of lame. Where was I on last night? I wasn't on last night.
Now, hold on.
I was on Overwatch on Sunday last, I think.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Alright, just kind of hide back around the corner so they don't see you.
I wish I could eat.
I'm not one for standing around.
Yep. Usually here, people like to start like top left, so like even like right behind you, right there, like on that platform. Nope, not
Actually,
not
yeah,
there,
that's a
above
really
you.
good point. Yeah, Ryan Tanks, go ahead
Oh,
and be down there. Just
look
so
top left.
actually it's a little
Up,
bit
up.
better for the
Yep,
DPS
right there.
we have.
Nope.
Or,
it's like
What?
right, left, left, left.
yes, but anyway.
Here?
No, no,
Or are
no,
you
no.
talking-
Yeah, right there, up there, the blue box, right? The blue
Ryan,
boxes.
stay on the echo, don't worry about
Right
over
there.
here?
Yeah, you can get up there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where you probably want to start off at.
Reloading.
Just like, cause that's gonna be good positioning, and sometimes a lot of times people will go up there, and you can get above them from there.
Setting shield.
Reloading.
Alright, good decision not to get too close there.
Signo suck. Oh god. I got you, I got you. Echo, you're a little low. Reinhardt. Run low.
Oh.
Alright. So yeah, that's gonna be a pretty dangerous angle to try to take. Usually you're gonna wanna be a little bit. Are you gonna turn on your team or something?
Ryan, shield. Stay in the circle.
Voice chat volume if you're is what
With
you're looking
them?
for. No, no, no. Voice chat volume.
Yeah, for
Yep.
them.
Yeah. So yeah, just being in that maybe better positioning would be slightly better there. Maybe overstaying your welcome on the off angle, which just means that again you don't want to keep staying there because then it becomes very the longer you stay, the more dangerous it becomes because now they're all looking at you. Probably just say take the high ground roll, right? Just to get there faster. Yeah, right now we're watching our health bar, right? So we might need to back up and grab some heals.
I'm gonna go up here, get the high ground.
Okay. If we wanted to, we'd probably go like up top behind them, and then we could get off like a high noon from the high ground, right? Or at least we can hold this angle, right, and that just gets us around their shields. Alright, good decision to drop there. Also nice like pre-flash around the corner, though I don't think we meant to go for the McCree.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be there.
Yeah, I didn't even hear him. Yep, nice high noon. All right, nice hold.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
I plan on playing
Certainly haven't changed my
around here,
mind working with you.
up here.
I'd probably say, I guess it depends on where they're holding. Because I guess like a lower SRs that might be holding in different places, like they might not all be on the high ground, but typically like coming out like right side and then just like either staying with your team or taking the right side stairs is usually gonna be good ideas. Good idea because that's gonna be like where most of them are at. And then left side could be pretty far away from them, and then like take some long
Yeah.
rotations. So, just
So what I'm basing that off of is typically they
hold
like to
close.
hold down.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
down.
Which they are. Yeah. It's just keep. Which like I said, I guess that's different at lower ranks. The higher up they go, they're not going to be on the low ground. So that's fine for what you're working with at the moment.
Right shield almost broke. Right half.
Right now we're up a pick. Right. We're playing a little bit more aggro. Request healing. Right. When you're under pressure and you have people on top of you.
I thought I had my flash, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind is that like when they're on low grounds, that means they have even less people on high grounds to contest you if you try to take it from like right side, right? Which
Yeah,
just means that
and
that's a
there's
really
not
really
much.
big.
There's not much room for them to see me go up there either from there.
Yep.
This might be a little too much.
Nope, that's
Oh,
that's completely fine if you go hunt them down like that. You just want to be safe about it. Okay, I like the high ground, the positioning as well. Maybe flash them from above, right? That just makes them an easier target to headshot and kill. We're down a couple people right now, so we just want to play passive. All right, just watching kill feed right now. We're kind of even-ish. Watch the health bar, right? Or maybe we just peek the edge and request healing, right? Yep. Perfect high noon. Really good watching for when they're out in the open and no one is. They're too far. You were too far away, right, for anyone to hit you, right?
yeah.
All right. Okay, so a lot better played there.
Almost got that fair too.
The echo. Yeah.
Was that an echo? I thought that was a fair. Or not a fair. I meant the
Mercy.
mercy. Yeah,
Yep.
mercy.
All right. Yep. You just hop into another game. And then why don't I continue on with the replay? All right. So in this fight, we kind of have the Genji on top of us, but we kind of like notice how we roll back into their team. Like we kind of go like we have the Genji on us, but then we roll towards the Moira and the Lucio, right? Whereas we probably would be better off if we like instead were like rolling this way towards like our side of the map, right? That way we have less people who can shoot at us, and essentially actually kill us, right? If we have less people shooting at us. Flashbang, right?
Hmm.
Okay, playing aggro now. We're up a bunch of people. Yep, so good job, good aggroness. Or aggroness, yeah, aggression. Alright, so it's in between fights. Carts right here. So in between fights, we always want to reposition to the best place possible. So that we, especially when we're on defense, where would you maybe guess that the best place possible would be here?
Probably high ground.
Yep.
For now.
Yep, high ground, because the fight's going to be happening. They have to come to cart, right? So the fight's going to be happening pretty much below us, which means that we get the high ground. They're going to take off angle, as well as getting like right above them, right?
I think I might go there actually in this game. I might. I'm not
But we
sure.
but we aren't now for
No,
yeah.
not it.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure we're doing that a little earlier, because like slightly
Yeah,
late, which
Genji's
almost
already
get time.
there.
Alright, so here we maybe push up to this high ground just to get closer. If we're up a bunch of picks here, like if you see your teams down there, we can maybe drop to help them out. Shoot at the brig there. Yeah, there probably should have just shot at the brig while she's in the grab, right? Because that just we were shooting at the Reinhardt and then we swapped to the Moira, right? When brig's just a super easy target because she's a squishy, stuck in, she can't move. All right.
Probably should have pushed up a little there.
Yeah, for your whole teams, I think it depends on like where teams decides to engage. If they I think at the moment where they're at is fine, but if they push any further than where they are now, then we need to drop to go help out because it's going to be out of our line of sight, right?
Yeah.
Like if they drop any or push any closer, then we're going to need to, because then we wouldn't be able to see anything from here.
I think you'll laugh at this little Ryan 1v1.
Oh. Oh no.
Watch this. Actually. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I think he gets a little tilted and single ults me later on.
Oh. Like at this point, if we wanted to high noon, like again, like look the searching for those angles. If we see our teams this far push forwards, we could go like top right here, get like this super wide angle where we can see
Ooh,
everything,
that's nice.
right? All over the place. It's it's gonna be unexpected. Because again, it's a
Yeah.
surprise angle. Off angle gets the high ground, right? Which means that they don't really have time to react, and it's also decently far enough away where, like, looking at their team comp, they're not gonna have like much to shoot at us from a distance, right? Top left is also an option, though that might be a little bit more heavily contested. Like you see that there's other people here, right? So like if there's no one over here, then you can take this, right, and do pretty much the same thing, right? And it might be a little bit faster, right? But it's also a little bit more dangerous. So you'd be basically left versus right would be speed versus safe, right? So it's just some options to work with, like if we're actively trying to seek out a high noon, right? Which, like I said, we should probably be looking to do rather than just like have them pop up in. We don't want to just sit around and let them come to us. Here we're a little bit out of position, right?
Yeah, I separated myself.
Yeah, we're kind of really far off on our own. Also out of like no cover anywhere, right? Very far away from our team. Want to be closer with our team.
I think where he single ults me. Yeah.
Yep, so just really far forwards there. Like we sometimes like just there's this like happening with art, like when we were playing art 2 was just like we could take sometimes for like our aggressions at like a 20, and then sometimes we just like pop it up to like an 80, like just out of nowhere,
Yeah,
right?
there's no in between.
Yep.
Oh, my Q just popped.
All right, sounds good. Let's pause it here then.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
That's rude, Neo.
I bet you're a big fan of those old-fashioned cowboy movies, aren't you? I thought I was.
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
Quit screwing around and get ready to move.
Now keep the ASMR going.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commencing. Capture objective A.
Hey, which side do you almost always go on that point?
Left.
Alright, so walking up the right side just means you have to cross over more area, right? And means that you're dying more. So just
Well, I wanted to be behind my team's shield.
which you can do this. I mean, you can usually just like kind of roll through, like, and just get through if you come in from the left. But then the other thing is you can just wait until they walk and then come in behind them, right? But then again, it's just less space that you have to yourself have to travel, right? And then that's less time out in the open, and less time getting spammed, and then means you have more survivability. So most of the time, it's good if you're going left. It's a good idea to come out left.
Best head for the hills. I'm on fire.
Nice, because we're up a bunch of people, so we can just get aggro, right? Just finish off those stagger kills. If we keep pushing now, like with our team, then we can maybe get those guys. But we gotta be careful because they're getting their players back. Yeah, we're looking for high noon, so maybe we can go like top like right side-ish, right? But we just want to be careful that we're timing it from when our team's pushing, right? We don't want to go in on our own. You can even go higher than that if you want to like keep jumping right side. Yep.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yep. You can even jump from there to the high ground. Yep. Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, they're just kind of all too far forwards there.
play with my team.
Yeah, it seems like we were gonna have to practice at those, like, I don't think we're necessarily used to like the high ground angles yet, so we're just gonna have to practice at those and making sure we're still hitting shots, because it seems like we're having a tougher job hitting the high ground shots than just straight on, which is understandable because it is more difficult to hit those shots. Okay, right now we're down some people, right, so we're just waiting for our team, right? Like, at the moment of us poking, our entire team's back at choke and we're down, like, 2 people are walking back from spawn, so we just maybe don't want to peek at that time. Usually right side's going to be the best, like, off angle you can take here, because it's the shortest while also giving you, like, high grounds and... Oh,
Oof.
kind of got shredded there. While also giving you high grounds and a really good off angle, so that's just an option here.
That's 2 of our teammates down.
Yeah. So, just wait for them to come back, right? Keep checking. And then once they do come back, then we can look to push. Okay, good timing with it.
Yeah, I'm just like, my team's not able to push in. I feel like I'm too far forward if I come over here.
Yep, just keep in mind you can always like just roll backwards if you start to get contested, and you also have your flashbang to duel people.
Yeah.
So you honestly don't need to be too afraid of just soldiers just like poking you a little bit, right? You don't have to back all the way up out of that for that reason. It's fine if they see you and are tickling you a little bit. Yeah. Then after that, you back up. Make sure you request healing, right? So we're not sitting at 8 HP. Yeah, the main problem right now is we just need to kind of get in close enough to actually shoot things effectively is, you know, the issue here. If we want to, we can just go with our team rather than going off on our own, but we also have High Noon now as an option. We can do that from, we have, I believe, we have a shield here, right? So we can just do it from behind the shield and our tanks and our team, or we could go on a flank, either or works. But now we just have to be aware that they're all watching for us right side because we've done that so many times, right? So we might want to mix it up, right? If we keep trying it, it's not working. Right. Oh, don't peek when they window, right? So you just basically, if you see a window like that, you just back up and don't.
Is that what you mean by window?
Yep,
The
yep,
Bapsol?
Bapsol, yep.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that, you just completely back up. You can take a different angle if you wanted to, but you just don't want to peek that because you're just gonna get shredded like you did there.
Yeah.
And make sure maybe crouch instead of jumping. Jumping is going to make you louder and more protrusive. Right now, we maybe want to be going for like a High Noon, right? That's kind of the play we go for here. So if you're maybe going for that, you might want to be like stealthy and secretive rather than shooting is an option you have. While you're going for it, still be moving around a little bit, right? That's just gonna make it harder for them to hit you instead of just standing completely still, right?
My mouse got stuck
Yeah.
on my...
So the other issue there would have just been like if we're going for a sneaky High Noon, we're like because we're shooting at the soldier now, they all know where we're at, right? So now the High Noon might be like even off the table because like if they know where we're at, then it's no longer sneaky, right? It's no longer a surprise. We lose that surprise advantage, and now we're just High Nooning when they're all looking at us and they all know where we're at. And then we just die, right? So we just want to be careful of that. Like we can't do both at the same time very easily, so we just want to be careful of that. Also, just keeping in mind that we do have like we don't want to just keep ramming our heads into one side. Like there we have 3 different options of places to push: left, right, and mid. Right? You don't have to keep doing the same one over and over again if it doesn't seem to be working. Especially like because that spot might work against some people, might not work against others. Right? Some people have better defense on certain parts of the map, so. If you feel like it's not working, you can try mixing it up and then catching them off guard. And it's going to become, like, the more and more you do it, the more they're predicting it, the more they're getting used to it, and they're going to, like, be, like, going, okay, McCree's going left again, right? So you just want to make sure we're not just repeating, doing the same thing over and over again, but we're learning from, from mistakes, and we're kind of mixing it up so we're not becoming very easily predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a little. I guess your team's there, but I'd still probably say that's a little close. You usually just want to be sitting on the high ground, to be honest. Your team's again doing the silver positioning, but I'd say that's even fine for you to be up there. Here we can go like, you go like top left, like where Zarya's at, and you just shoot at them from above. Very nice slash headshot. All right, good decision to back up once you saw that it was like 1v4, right?
Okay.
Uh-oh. Same thing as last time, right? Just making sure we're not right-clicking when we have 2 ammo left, right? That's usually never going to do very much damage. Instead, just reload, or like we want to roll to reload, or keep just left-click with it, right? When we're up against a dive, we don't need to take as many off angles because they don't really have tanks sitting in the front that are going to be blocking us, right? Instead, we can just sit with our team because we don't want to take off angles again because we want to be able to give them flashbang and get heals from them, right? We don't want to isolate ourselves from our team. So up against team comp dictates playstyle because they're on a different composition. They have like Monkey Diva, and that's like a dive composition. That means that we're playing slightly differently. Okay, looks like they're all coming in on that side. Remember what I just said about, like, not going off on our own, right? And then we go off on our own, and that just means that we end up like 1v3ing, and then they dive us super easily, right? Are you familiar with the term dive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
So we just like they're able to get on top of us, right, in like half of a second. So we don't want to be off on our own where they can do that, and now we're isolated and they can just kill us very easily, right? But when we stand on top of our team, we can get heals from them, and we can get stuns from them, and then we can also help add in our flashbang as a stun and damage so that we can help keep our teammates alive, right? So it's a win-win for both of us. So on any other composition, you can just go and take off angles and flanks and maybe be on the main once in a while, and that's completely fine. But on up against a dive, most of the time you're just gonna want to chill with your team because there's nothing to even off angle against in the first place because there's no tanks just being in, and there's no shields in your way, right?
Right.
Now, hold on. Let them out fast enough.
Oh, just taking kind of a long walk around. Nice ults. All right. Not looking too shabby there at the end. All right. We have. Oh, so sorry. Are you queuing for comp right now?
We can do a quick play.
Yeah. Why don't you do it? Why don't you do a quick play, because the last 10 minutes I'm going to be using to do a review over the things we talked about, as well as go over the main points and then wrap up the session from there. So I don't want to be in a comp game for that. So why don't you queue up for a quick play, and then I don't know, did you want to go over like one more like a replay while you're in quick play, or what? So there's that other one, right? The Eichenwald, I think. All right, because I think Rialto is the first map we did.
We did Dorado. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant Rialto was the first map that we did, like we did that live.
Oh. Yeah.
All right. So here we are, F1. All right. So here, yep, positioning's good. No problems here if you're in. Oh, usually, like, this again, silver positioning. Like, you're not a tank player, so I'm not gonna get too much into, like, where you should be positioning yourself and your team. But this is again not the best positioning for a team. But if your team is holding here, a really good place for you to be would just be to like be above them up here on the high ground. Though of course, probably like if they're holding any further back, which they probably should be, being further back is no issue at all. Alright, so there's a Sombra on point. I remember, like, there's a time back in Overwatch where, like, they didn't have the what was it? So they had it where, like, it was a new patch, and you if you like full held, so like it would be like in competitive, if you full held, it would be like whatever percentage. So like for example, like let's say they only got like they capped like 2%, right? You would only have to cap 2%, right? Rather than it being
Yeah,
a full
I
tick.
remember that.
Yeah, and you could go Sombra and just run around the whole team and get on point, and then it was just and then you just cap in like half a second, you'd win.
Slowly cap it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have use for you.
All right. Did we see her translocate back or what?
Yeah, she did. She has a translocator back there.
All right, so we saw her translocate left side. Where did she? Can you not? Oh, okay. You can't see her through walls for some reason when she translocates. All right. I was like, what? Why did she disappear like that?
I end up killing her, and she
Mm.
switches to
Here,
Echo.
it probably be best if we like came back and played here because it's not like she's gonna get a tick,
Yeah,
right? Like it's here because from here we could like keep an ear out and like just be like ready, be like have like a trigger finger where you're like just itching to like do a quick flick around and like to look at her, right? But we can still be here and shooting at the main angle and still be doing stuff, and then now that means that you're getting value when she's not, right?
my cue puffed, by the way.
All right. I thought I heard it. I was like, what's
Yeah.
that sound?
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself. A lovely day for field research.
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
All right, so coming out of here, out of spawn, usually it's a good idea to take like left room, as that's a good little off angle that's not like that's away from the main angle, while also being like a closer range than the main angle, right? Whereas if you're just going down main, it's very, very long ranged. Flash him, flash him. Oh, watch for the trap.
Yeah.
Right, just make sure we're paying attention to the trap, right, and at the doorway. Just team compositions is the trap is still there for some reason. Team compositions.
That's something people still do in high SR games.
Yep, and if people don't learn that in high SR games either. Yep, still probably want to come out left side just because left side's there's not really. Right side's really out in the open and really, really far away. So just left side closes the gap a lot faster. You just want to get out the doorway, hopefully. There, after you hit a bunch of headshots into the hog, don't be afraid to like roll into him and flash him, right? That way you just like you can stun him so that he can't heal himself and he can't do anything, right? And then you just you can also, if he starts healing, then you can stun him out of his heal, right? And then that's an easy kill on him. Sometimes like he was like super out of position and we could have just gotten him really easily if he just rolled in and flashed. Here we're up a bunch of people, so yes, I like the aggression. Just keep pushing, and then we can maybe take the high ground after we're done here.
What is going on?
Right, now we're a little bit far forward, so right, pay attention to where your team's at. Right. Now we're up 2 again, so we can look to get more aggro. Melee when she's like 1 HP right next to you, right? That's always a good finisher because it doesn't require any shots and it's like very consistent, easy damage to get out. Okay, here we're looking for high noon, so we can just like they're gonna have to go to cart, right? So we can just like wait until they do go to cart, if they do try to touch, and then high noon from there.
Yeah, I'm just so used to right clicking.
Yep. Left click is it'd be a good
have
thing to
it.
it could be a good thing to practice, especially in quick play or free for all. Especially like free for all is a good thing to try out, like in between queues, because it lets you get used to your duels and your like 1v1s, right? So that's a really, really good place to practice. Just making sure you're going for headshots when you're flashing, and just make sure you're not right clicking. There's actually even modes if you like look try hard FFA where they actually disable
Yeah.
McCree's right click.
Yeah.
Nice shots. Nice flashbang. Probably like go like above them with like a high noon, right? Just gotta be careful because when we shoot, now they know we're here.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a hog on me.
yeah. All right.
It ain't my time.
So here we can like maybe come out left side and take like the high ground, for example. Just like, you know, get that high ground going. We're also up 3 people, so we'll probably set up for next fight. You actually get on top of those little big things up top there. Like if you can jump, this would be hard to explain actually. So actually, I think they might have broken the railings. You need the railings to do it. So actually
Right
I
here?
don't think that you can do it. No, it's on the left. You
Over
can.
here?
No, you can probably. It's too difficult to explain for the moment. So we'll just pass up the opportunity. But just know that you can maybe figure that out at some point if you wanted to like look up a YouTube video on it. Probably high noon from here, right? Right, too far away, right? Nobody could shoot you from there. As well, they're all on the open, so it's a really good opportunity for. We just want to, you know, pay attention. So I'm not the one to remind you, right? But I'm reminding you so that you can see the situation in game and go, okay, well, that's what a good high noon situation looks like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Rest in peace.
Very nice. Up 2 picks so we can play more aggro, right? Pushing forwards. Lucius on the open. Maybe like roll forwards and flash him if you want to.
Enemy turret destroyed.
Very nice. Probably plop ourselves on top of cart and just high noon from there. Or it's just one Orisa left now. So I might not even need it. Don't want to sit on cart because the one place that they have to go when they come out of spawn is cart, right? So that's the most dangerous place for you to be, as well as probably not giving you even the best angles, right? If you're just sitting there. So most of the time you just want to give yourself a little bit of space. There was, I think, did we talk about that on King's Row? I think we said that on King's Row. We did King's Row, right? Now maybe it's been 2 hours ago, so now I'm questioning myself. Yeah, we did King's Row.
Yeah, we did do King's Row.
Yeah, so yeah, we talked about it on King's Row, right? Just making sure we're not sitting on cart, right, when we're about to cap point, but instead we're just giving it some space. All right, so I am gonna go over to the training range. I'm still streaming. Yep. So now review and then main points, and then wrap up the session from there. So McCree, flashbang. Make sure we're using it, right? We don't want to hold on to it. Whenever somebody's in range of it, which is going to be within like 10 meters, right? You can flash from here. You cannot flash from here, right? So we just want to make sure that anytime somebody's within this range, we're using it, right? Just because it's going to secure us a kill very, very easily, right? One left click versus right click, we right click. Left click is preferred, but we right click if we can't see their heads because we're on the side or the behind, and it's a character that's we can't hit them on a ball because we can't see his head, or if it's like a surprise and we're not prepared for it. But other than that, try to get used to hitting headshots, especially like on a Tracer or Baby Diva where we can just like boom, dead, right? On top of that, moving on to roll, right? Roll, just make sure again we're using it more often. Use it for mobility. To especially, I'd probably say this one was one of the big ones to just use it whenever you're just moving somewhere, so we can get there faster. It's a 6-second cooldown, so we're gonna be getting it pretty fast. Just make sure we're using it. On top of that, make sure that we are. Sorry, other ways we can use it is using it for dodging as well as reloading, right? So just pay attention to those uses. Make sure we're using it. High noon usage, again, just make sure you're using it, or I'm not holding on to it, because we don't get value if you don't use it. And, high noon in fights that are won or lost, make sure we're not using it too early, but we're using it, right as the fight's beginning, because that, like, we want to use it during the fight, not before the fight. That way we have a sufficient distractions, right, and the enemy team just can't see us super easily, right? Make sure that when we're using it, that the enemy team's out in the open, right? We're not going to use it, we're going to use it when they're right here, not when they're right there, because when they're right here, they can just run away from it super easily, right? But when they're out in the open like this, now we can look to use it. Now we can't, right? So on top of that, 3 different ways that we can get away with it. We can get away with it if we're too far away. We can get away with it if we have a protection, or we can get away with it if it's surprise from a flank or an off angle, right? And then that's how you survive it, because if you're not using those, then a lot of times high noon's just going to be it's high, and then you die, right? On from there, mechanics, general, just going pew-pew, looking really, really solid. No big main issues, but where you are running into issues is a couple different areas, right? Number 1, crosshair placement. Make sure you're trying to hit more headshots, right? Keep it at head level, pre-aim where you know people are going to be. So aim at head level where you know people are going to be at, so that we can already be aiming there and hit those shots super easily, because it's very little adjustment. On from there, another big one was just actions per minute. And make sure that we're just doing things more often, right? Shooting things more often, right? And we're not taking random pauses, but we're constantly at a 50% aggro. We're not at a, we'll talk about this when we come to aggression, but we're being at 50% aggro, not a, 20% aggro. So we're actually doing things, right? On top of that, for mechanics, target priority, right? Making sure we're shooting at supports and DPS, not tanks all the time, right? But again, remember, you do shoot at tanks when they're low, when they're out of position, when they're the only things to shoot at, right? But when you have equal opportunity, or you can just go actively seek out the other things, go actively seek out the other things, right? On from there, positioning, right? Tons of different things in positioning. So first off, make sure we're using cover properly, right? If we're standing right here, it takes us a bunch of time to walk over here, so don't be standing there. Excuse me, it's a burp. All right, sorry about that. So we don't want to be standing there, because we're just, gonna die from there, right? Whereas if we're standing here, we can do the exact same stuff from here, except for now we're much safer. We have cover that we can use. So good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Make sure we're using cover properly. Take high grounds as often as they're in the fight, right? You don't want to take them if they're like nowhere near the fight, right? If the fight's happening over here, we're not going to take that high ground all the way over there. But we want to take high grounds when they're an option, right? Because they're very, very good for us. On top of that, take off angles whenever they're an option, as long as they're not on a dive. If they're on a dive, then you stick with your team, right? But on any other comp, you're going to want to take off angles, because it gets you around tanks, gets you around shields, gives you a good crossfire effect as well, right? High grounds act as off angles as well. Go for flanks on McCree. Only if you're high nooning, and don't do it in the middle of fights. Do it in between fights, right? Especially if it's a longer flank, right? Other than that, try to keep it on the less dangerous side, right? Don't like do a super dangerous flank, right? You want to kind of find a medium danger or low danger with if it's long, you're wanting to do it in between fights, right? On from there to the awareness, right? Tons of different things in awareness. Let's go through some of them. First off, health bar watching, right? Pay attention to your health bar. Make sure that when we're low, that we're not playing aggro, and we're also requesting healing, right? There's sometimes where we're just low and we just would sit low and without doing anything about it, right? Request healing. That's going to get your supports to look at you faster, right? On from there, make sure we're paying attention to the rest of our HUD. So pay attention to your abilities, make sure we're using them. Pay attention to your ultimate. That can hopefully remind you to actually use it, right? And not just continue to hold on to it, right? On from there, more on awareness is kill feed watching, right? Paying attention to whether or not you've won or lost the fight. As a quick refresher, 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage. When you have an advantage or a disadvantage, and accordingly, you play passively or aggressively accordingly, right? You play passively with a disadvantage, aggressively with an advantage. When you're up or down 2 to 3, that's a won or lost fight, right? In a won or lost fight, you don't use ults, and they also play super aggro, or you to get stagger kills, right? Or you back up if you can, and if you can't, then you let them kill you, right? So you don't end up staggering yourself, right? Also, don't walk forwards when you don't have teammates, right? Which means we have to pay attention to where our team's at. That was another one, is pay attention to where's the enemy team at, where's our team at, right? Make sure we're looking behind us. Sometimes we just like kind of walk, like our whole team would be like in spawn, and we just be like, okay, I'm going in, right? And then we like be going in 1v6, right? So we just don't want to be doing that. Pay attention to what's up with your team and what's up with the enemy team and where they're at. Audio awareness, just keep your ears out for gunshots, footsteps, right? Abilities and ultimates, right? So when somebody's shooting at you, you react faster. And then I think that is it for awareness, right? So main points. Oh, also aggression. Just make sure we're, that's not usually a category. Make sure that we're playing a proper aggression, right? Most of this game, we were either at a 20% passiveness, right, or we were playing at an 80% aggressiveness, right? Make sure we're not at those, but we're sitting at a 50% aggro aggression, right? We're playing kind of at that level, but we're playing more passive when we're losing a fight, and we're playing more aggressive when we're winning a fight, right? So then finally, main points. Probably would say that the biggest thing that we could work on there was our aggression. That was definitely like the biggest thing to just make sure we're getting used to and working on. Right, I tried to help you out with that a little bit. You just want to make sure paying attention to that. Also, I just forgot one thing with positioning. I forgot the big major one from the first round was just, making sure we're keeping ourselves in a medium range where we're playing with kind of within this, right, kind of range, not playing all the way back here, right? Because then we're missing more shots and we're getting fall off damage, right? So keeping a medium range on McCree. Another part of positioning, right? Okay, so aggressiveness, right? So aggression is the number one thing. Positioning is the number two thing. Number three is going to be your mechanics. Number four is going to be your number four is going to be your awareness, and then number five is going to be your ultimate and ability usage combined. And though I probably would say those are still pretty important, and we still need to work on them a ton. It's just also like on McCree, they aren't as important as other characters. Like if you had these bad of ability usage on like other characters, it'd definitely be higher. But McCree's abilities aren't super important, and they're also hopefully just like on top of that, just using an ability is hopefully a little bit more easily applicable than using it differently, right? If that makes sense, right? It's hopefully just easier to say I need to press this button than it is to say I need to press this button differently, right? So and getting out of bad habits, right? So just that's why I'm putting it at the low, just for the explanation, even though I've talked a ton on them. So that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions on anything we talked about?
Not at the moment. No,
Alright.
I was trying to write everything down as you were speaking.
Which
I think I got everything so far.
Yeah. You also order the notes, so
Did I?
Yeah. So after we're done here, I'm gonna get you I'm actually gonna end the recording